First at 5, from the University of Florida's College of Journalism and Communications, you're watching WUFT News.
President Trump is making a campaign stop right now in Ocala. Thanks for joining us for WUFT News First at 5. I'm Chris O'Brien. The crowd began gathering this morning at Ocala's airport. President Trump took the stage a half hour ago, and a local radio station, the Sky FM, is carrying the campaign speech live. Organizers were expecting as many as 15,000 people. Trump drew 12,000 at the Livestock Pavilion during his Ocala stop 4 years ago. Trump and Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden went head-to-head last night on opposite television channels after a canceled debate. NBC's Tracy Potts has a recap on what you may have missed.
President Trump and Democratic nominee Joe Biden both making news in their competing town halls.
2 million Floridians have already voted by mail, and that remains an option to choose for a few more days. But several million will not wait for Election Day and vote in person over the next 2 weeks. Most counties, like Alachua, will start early voting on Monday. WUFT's Jolina Esperto went behind the scenes today to see the COVID precautions, and she joins us now from our newsroom. Jolina?
The elections office in downtown Gainesville is one of 6 places to vote early in Alachua County. You'll notice they've rearranged the rooms for social distancing and tweaked procedures to keep things sanitized. The goal is to make sure people will feel safe while making their voices count.
Alachua County is preparing for the start of early voting.
If you want to vote by mail instead, the deadline to request your ballot is 5 p.m. October 24th. That close to Election Day, you won't want to actually mail it back. You should drop it off in person. There's a lockbox for those envelopes at each early voting location. Reporting live in the newsroom, Jolina Esperto, WUFT News.
Thank you, Jolina. So what will election night look like? Experts say some counting will go late into the night or take additional days, so very close races might not be settled on election night. Florida allows elections office to work ahead on the returning mail-in ballots, but Marion County Supervisor of Elections Wesley Wilcox predicts there will be a giant batch to process from Election Day after polls close.
Something that happened in August that hadn't happened in prior elections was I got almost 1,000 ballots dropped at my office on Election Day, which takes a massive amount of handling because we've got to verify they've not voted someplace else. Their signature matches what we have on file. The envelopes have to be open.
Wilcox expects an even bigger workload this time and points out what could be a few thousand ballots in Marion County, maybe 50,000 or more in big cities. Wilcox is asking the public to be patient and remember that accuracy is much more important than speed when it comes to counting votes. And you might be seeing more seafood on the menu in this next few weeks. Florida's stone crab claw season kicked off yesterday, but this time with new regulations. The FWC is worried about the long-term decline in the harvest, indicating overfishing. One change is reducing the harvest season by 2 weeks, so now closing on May 2nd. Another change involves the minimum size of a harvested claw. To be legal, it will now have to measure at least 2 7/8 inches. The best practice is to take only one claw so the crab can still defend itself during the years it takes to regrow. Now, we have had some warm, muggy weather here in the last week in north central Florida, but we might see a change for at least tonight. WUFT's Anthony Bordenero joins us now from the Weather Center with what we should expect tonight and the rest of this weekend. Anthony?
Well, thanks, Chris. Right now, there's actually a cold front moving through our area, and if you take a look at Campus Cam, you can see that some of these clouds are moving through, and that's actually the cold front moving through as well. Right now, on the University of Florida, it's 85 degrees.
Thank you, Anthony. Now, city playgrounds in Gainesville are starting to reopen after a 6-month closure. The city had them roped off because of the pandemic, but it now believes most are ready to reopen safely. The city still expects people to social distance and wear masks. Now, several reopened today, and you can find out which ones on the city's website. The rest should be open by next Friday. The U.S. is reaching the 8 million mark for COVID-19 cases. By one count, America reached that milestone yesterday. The CDC data will probably confirm it by Monday, since the current rate is more than 50,000 new cases per day. As NBC's Jay Gray reports, part of the latest surge is from sports, with football proving to be a tough sport to manage.
With COVID-19 rushing across the country, many college and NFL teams are struggling on defense right now.
Up next, another disruption from the pandemic as a movie theater chain suspends operations across the nation.
A cold front is currently moving through our area. It's going to be bringing in some cooler weather for our weekend. I'll have the full weekend forecast after the break.
Several battleground states are still counting ballots in the presidential race. This is a WUFT News election update. I'm Chris O'Brien. As NBC's Alice Barr reports, the initial counts could take days, and then there may be recounts and lawsuits.
With election results still hanging in the balance, NBC News this afternoon projecting Joe Biden as the apparent winner of Wisconsin.
Donald Trump won Florida last night with a lot of support coming from Latino voters. And in a close race, he took the battleground state with 51% of the vote. Joe Biden finished with 48%. NBC's Kerry Sanders shows us how people reacted to the outcome in Miami.
This morning, Trump voters in Florida celebrating, dancing in the streets of Miami's Little Havana.
And in terms of the balance of power in Congress, so far Democrats have gained a seat in the Senate and lost 5 in the House, including losing 2 in South Florida. Now in our area, a former staffer for Congressman Ted Yoho will take his place. Kat Cammack took 53% of the vote in District 3, making up for a loss in Alachua County with big margins in Clay, Marion, and Putnam. Adam Christensen told WUFT News he felt he'd done all he could and had a strong showing. Cammack told us she's ready to get to work.
We're going to hit the ground running on day one, and we're not going to wait until January. We're going to start the transition and make sure that we're working for the constituents of the 3rd District immediately.
On her Twitter page, Cammack said only in America could she go from homeless to the U.S. House in just 10 years. The tweet ended with this pledge, quote, "I will always fight for Florida's families the same way I would my own." And in the Florida House, one of the closest races was in the Gainesville area. Chuck Clemens keeps his District 21 seat for a 3rd term after a close race with Democrat Kaiser Enneking. Clemens won 51% of the vote, while Enneking had 49%.
I'm a country boy, and don't rule us out, because I've been an underdog most all of my life. We were outspending this campaign, but we were not outworked.
Moving over to some of the amendments, 4 of the 6 amendments on the Florida ballot passed last night, and here are 2 key results. Amendment 2, raising the state minimum wage, passed with 61% of the vote, just over the 60% required. The minimum wage will jump up to $10 per hour starting next fall, then go up by $1 each year until it reaches 15. Now, Amendment 3 only got 57% of the votes and needed 60 to pass, which now means registered voters without a party affiliation will still not be able to vote in the primary elections. And there will be some new faces soon on the Alachua County Commission. Democrat Mary Alford won the Commission 1 seat with 62% of the vote over Republican challenger Ramey Eagle Glenn. She will be replacing longtime Commissioner Mike Byerly, who has had the seat for 20 years. And in District 3, Anna Pritzio won the seat with 60% of the vote, while her opponent Joy Glanzer got 40%. Now, she's replacing Robert Hutchinson, who did not seek re-election this year. Now, Alachua County voters again renewed a property tax to help cover school operating expenses, and that is $1 million. This time it passed with 79%. The tax generates millions to help pay for nurses, art programs, school counseling, and technology. Now, one controversial measure went down to the wire and will require a recount, and there are also lawsuits pending. If the vote holds and Alachua County can control a large growth management area, small towns will face more hurdles to future growth.
You know, this GMA, the growth management area, really tips the scales, and it gives an inordinate amount of power to the county commission. And it puts the municipalities in the position of having to come and ask for their permission to grow and to develop.
That's our time for now. For more election news, visit WUFT.org. Stay safe out there and have a great night.